This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're at the press conference for Geordie Raw here in Newcastle. Had a Saturday night show live in Sky Sports. With me I have promoter Eddie Hearn. Sheffield last week, Newcastle this week.
Leeds next week.
Just all goes.
Non-stop.
Let's talk a little bit about the show. Obviously we know that Bradley Saunders had to pull out of the show due to injury. How is Bradley Saunders first of all?
He's okay. He'll be there on Saturday night. Obviously devastating blow for him, and one man's I'm sorry, I just thought I saw a boxer, but actually wasn't. One man's misfortune is another man's fortune in Anthony Nelson, obviously stepping up and fighting for the Commonwealth title against Jamie Wilson, two unbeaten fighters, a really good fight. John Lewis Dickinson and Steve Simmons, which I was just debating with someone over there. I really don't know on that one. I think it's going to be a great fight. My head on recent form says Simmons, but I feel like Dickinson's fought the better level of opposition, and obviously it's 100% last chance saloon for him. So, who do you think?
I told you, but don't say it on here because
no?
It's,
okay.
You know I like to.
Oh, you don't upset anyone.
That's
okay.
right.
And of course the big man back, Anthony Joshua, also Travis Dickinson, Stephen Smith, Jose Burton, Commonwealth Games gold medalist Charlie Flynn, Jordan King, Lewis Ritson debuting as well. So it's going to be a big busy night. 5:30 we start. We go live on air at 8 o'clock on Sky Sports. Then we go Stephen Simmons against John Lewis Dickinson. Then we probably go Jeff Saunders making his debut, and then we fire over to Canada for Stevenson against Beaker, and then we come back and then we go Joshua against Gavin, and then we go Nelson against Wilson, and then we show Stephen Smith, we show Travis Dickinson, we show Charlie Flynn, etc, etc. So it's a ram night, probably about closing on 5 hours of boxing on Sky.
Okay.
You don't have to sit on the fence on this one, because I was having a little bit of a wager up with Liam Smith. Beaker against Stevenson, we know Stevenson's going to win.
Will he knock him out though?
Yeah. I said no, but Liam Smith says yes, and we've had a little gamble on it.
I say no.
That's what I said to Liam Smith, but I changed my mind. I think Stevenson will stop him. I just think it's the right time. I think Beaker looked jaded against Durrell, and I think Stevenson will stop him up at light heavy. Did Beaker struggle a little bit making 12 stone? If he did, maybe he'll go the distance, but I just think he's getting old, and I think Stevenson will stop him.
Has he been stopped before?
Good question. I don't think he has. Legitimately.
So,
let's have a look. Go on, carry on.
That's interesting. Quite a statement from Stevenson. If he is to stop Beaker, then.
Sorry, carry on. Go on.
Yeah, so basically an action-packed night on Sky Sports Saturday night.
It is. It's great to see Anthony back. About 3 weeks ago, it was like we always felt he'd make this card, but we didn't want to make too much noise because I didn't want to put too much pressure on him. So actually, it was about the time when I found that we got the final confirmation that he'd be okay. Is when we found out that Bradley Saunders, no, he's not been stopped. Sakio Beaker. It was about the same time that we found out that Bradley was off that we were given the final all clear on Anthony. So great to see him back. You know, we've got around 7,000 in here on Saturday night, and most of them coming to watch Anthony Joshua fight. He's a huge star. You know, saw a documentary last night on ITV. Documentary's been running on Sky Sports, and now we're looking for momentum. You know, we had wonderful momentum. He had the stress fracture in his back, bad injury. This is his first fight back. Kevin Johnson on May the 30th. Then we want, you know, Dylan White, David Price, Tyson Fury, all of those boys, you know, starting off.
Interesting watching that documentary yesterday, which was probably, well, it ended after his 6th fight.
Yeah.
And
we've got part 2 coming.
Part 2 coming. But, you know, you said then that in a year's time he'll be ready, and obviously that's on course, because you're saying basically in 6 months' time he's going to be ready for those.
He hasn't boxed for 5 months.
Yeah.
So, but I think the injury has sort of shown a couple of things to the team, in that the injury has shown that we want to get moving, because, you know, we've lost a little bit of time, and I think in the camp and in sparring he's shown that he's ready. I think when you look back at the footage of, you know, the debut fight at the O2, when you look at like the Dorian Darch fight, and you look at even the Butlin fight, he's such a better fighter now than he was then. And I just feel like the Johnson fight will be his last fight of probably of learning. You know, I think Johnson's going to be game. He's going to be up for it. Sorry, mate, just talking about you. but I think after that fight, he's ready to go with any of the domestic guys. And you know,
obviously Gavin, we know about Gavin. He was in prize fighter, and obviously we were in Castle. We saw, you know, the ultimate one didn't stop him. He retired at the start of the 5th round. But what is he doing? Gavin joking in the press conference that, you know, he'd seen bettings on what was second. You know, he was going to get knocked out.
I think Gavin will do rounds.
Game fighter, and he's
I think he'll do rounds. I mean, don't forget, Anthony's coming back from a stress fracture, 5 months out. I think Gavin's a credible opponent. You see him fiddle around Deontay Wilder quite well. You know, quit with an injury, just about to start the 5th round. He's boxed, near enough. You know, a lot of top fighters in the division. He's boxed Mansour, he's boxed Deontay Wilder, he's boxed Ustinov, he's boxed Boistov. He's, you know, a lot of the top heavyweights. I think he'll come and have a go for a couple of rounds. Then I think he'll go in his shell. Rounds. I think he'll take Josh 3 or 4 rounds. To be honest, I think he's got enough experience. Obviously, it's his 50th fight. It's just one of them where we looked at opponents, and you know, there's a couple of sort of durable Eastern European opponents, but Jason's like, he's got more banter. Do you know what I mean? At least he comes and talks and enjoys himself and brings a little bit to the show, rather than some guy from Eastern Europe who just is tough but just don't even talk English. Do you know what I mean? So I like Gavin's inclusion, and I think going from Gavin to Johnson is great. Fingers crossed for Saturday night. Anthony gets through injury-free. Week off, back in camp for Kevin Johnson.
I face it. Okay, let's get down to it.
What?
Amir Khan.
Yeah.
Said winner takes all.
Yeah.
Fight with Kell Brook. But he also tweeted and said, look, you knew that obviously after meeting with his team that wasn't going to be the case for something for June 13th.
Only because they turned it down. So, like, I saw his tweet saying, "Oh, they knew we turned that down." Yeah, that was. I mean, I spoke to his team 6 weeks ago. I said, "We'll fight you on May the 30th, June the 6th, June the 13th." June the 13th is the Wembley date that's available. Go Old Trafford, Sheffield United, Bolton Wanderers. Don't give a monkeys. But they turned the fight down, and he came out and said he knew we turned the fight down. Well, correct. At least you're admitting you turned the fight down. But I'm just asking again if he wants it. I know he's turned the fight down originally, but I want him to take the fight, so therefore we ask again. Let's do it. There's no reason. 6 weeks ago you didn't have an opponent. On Saturday night you still didn't have an opponent. So, you know.
He made a point that obviously a fight of this magnitude could be Froch'S-esque, couldn't it? It could be as big as that. Why are you trying to do it in a couple of months?
Again, absolute rubbish. We asked for the fight. Actually, I asked for the fight 2 years ago, and I've asked for that fight every couple of months since then. 6 weeks ago, I asked for the fight, and actually, on Saturday night, people said, you know, it's only 2 months to the fight. March the 28th, April the 28th, May the 28th. June the 13th. What's that? 11 weeks? I need 8 weeks max for promotion of a fight, and I need probably 24 hours to sell it out at Wembley. So don't buy that rubbish. Or we haven't got enough time to sell it. Rubbish. Pacquiao Mayweather, when was that announced? How many weeks out? 8 weeks? 9 weeks? Absolute rubbish.
He also said that if Brook was to go out and beat a Maidana, a Rios, a fight of
before Porter. He said if he goes out and fights someone like a Porter or wins a world title, yeah, then, well, guess what? He did it. There's no point having a conversation. You don't want to fight him. You know, and by the way, I'll say for the millionth time, Amir Khan's a quality fighter. He don't beat Kell Brook, but that's another story. You don't want to fight Kell Brook. The one thing that he says, which is true, is this fight will get bigger. You know why it will get bigger? Because Kell Brook's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and people are going to want it more and more and more. But unfortunately for Amir, what's going to happen now, the problem now is Kell Brook's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and Amir's not.
How do you know he's not?
Well, because you're not going to get bigger fighting Chris Algieri, are you? So that's the front runner, and people are going to be disappointed with that fight, you know. But Kell is hot to trot here, you know, great ratings, packed out arena. America loved him, Showtime loved him. So I think, and he's world champion. So, but no, the excuses are rubbish. But listen, it's getting boring now. And actually, to be honest with you, we kind of brushed it aside a couple of weeks before the fight. But then leading up to the fight, the last couple of days, people were niggling and asking. Then you get in a ring and the crowd are going, "We want Khan, we want," you know. So, and then obviously you get asked a question, and then boom, it just goes off. And like Monday was outrageous with Khan Brook. You see Sky Sports News? It was like literally 24 hours blanket coverage, all the papers.
Yeah, sure.
You know, people say to me, "Oh, that's not a Wembley fight." Let me worry about that.
What can you just clarify within a purse or contract situation? Can you, like with the British Boxing Board, can you do a winner take all?
Yeah, that would never happen in a minute. Listen,
no, I know, but
Kel would do it in a heartbeat. I'm not sure.
Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah,
you can do. I don't think. Listen, boxing's a very dangerous game, and these guys put everything on the line when they enter the ring. So, I'd rather see some kind of minimum payment so that they can at least pay for their camp and secure their futures. But Kel would take winner takes all, no hassle. I mean, actually, Amir tried to call that one on, and Kel went, "Yeah, no problem." And Amir was like, it's just something you say in Amir's position. He's under so much pressure. You see, like, he put out 8 tweets on the spin, like trying to justify himself, which were all wrong. But he's under pressure, under big pressure for that fight. You know what? Kell Brook will fight anyone. He hasn't been spoiled. He hasn't, you know, experienced the big fights yet, and he will fight anyone.
Obviously, Kell made very easy work of Jojo down over the weekend, and you know, went 4 rounds. I've read somewhere that you're possibly considering putting him out before the summer. Is this true?
Yeah, well, he came out of the ring on Saturday and he was like, "I want to go back to the gym tomorrow." So we gave him a couple of days off. He's back in the gym now. And he's saying to me, well, originally we were going to box in July. That was the plan. He was going to have a month off, get back to the gym in, I don't know, May, and then box in July. Now, I think we can get 2 fights in before the end of the summer. And now we're looking at boxing him potentially on the May 30th card at the O2, which would be obscene. And then boxing him at the end of July, early August, again. What are you looking at me like for?
Well, I was just, when you said May 30th card, I'm just thinking like, what kind of level of opponent would you put him in with?
You have to defend against, Kell's IBF champ, they're very strict on their rules. So you've got to defend against a top-rated fighter. Will it be a Marquez or a Rios? Probably not. And that's something we've got to consider, because obviously the fans want Kell in that kind of fight. But if he can be in a quality fight and then fight Rios in July, great. Keep building his profile. Give the people that have bought the 10,000, whatever we've done at the O2 already, a chance to watch Kell Brook live. Build him, keep building him on Sky, defend that world title. He's making up for lost time. He won that world title in August, didn't get a chance to defend it to the end of March. I would love to see him box in May. I'd love to see him box again in July or August. We're talking to Top Rank. I think we'll get the Rios fight nailed down for July. That's the one we want.
Really?
Yeah, that's the one we want. And again, if we choose to fight in May, are we risking the Rios fight? You know, people talking about, you know, you look at the top 15, I don't know, Chavez, Diego Chavez, Antonin Decarie, you know, it's quite thin, that top 15. You've got other guys that are coming off losses, like Josecito Lopez, Kamigai from Japan. They wouldn't be available, they're coming off losses. So you haven't got many options, but I would love to see him get straight back out, because Kell Brook is ready to fight again now. So it's definitely something we're looking at.
Sorry. Eddie, obviously, after I spoke to you in Sheffield, I did manage to catch up with Carl Froch'S.
Yeah.
Upset a few people in the interview, drove off basically. But what he did say, interestingly, is that he'd spoken to you that night or after the conversation I had with you, and potentially something for August, September.
Yeah, I think, look, we're still talking to Ward. Carl only wants to be in fights that really get his juices flowing, you know. I was going to say something else then, but it was a little bit X-rated. And he deserves to be able to choose what fights he's in, by the way. People say to him, oh, fight him, what's the matter with you? No, listen, this guy's worked his nuts off all his career. I think he should choose. And the 2 things that really stand out, which I've said all along, are Las Vegas and the City Ground. So when the Ward fight come up, it wasn't really a fight we were looking at or wanted. It's a tough fight. He's a fantastic fighter, very difficult to beat. Not really a style that gels well with Carl, but we're looking at it. But we want to do it at the City Ground. Andre doesn't. We're a little bit of logheads. I don't know what's going to happen. Chavez fights in 2 weeks. Hopefully, as soon as that fight is finished, we can get the fight made for September in Vegas. But the answer is I really don't know. And I couldn't blame Carl Froch if he never fought again.
But he didn't sound like the other day, well, obviously in that little 4 or 5 minute interview, that he was sort of contemplating that.
Well, you think he's talking that he wants to fight again?
I got the impression.
Listen, he's a competitor. He was at a show where the atmosphere was unbelievable, so he probably came back buzzing from that. It's got to be the right fight. Simple. I said that from the Wembley press conference after the fight. It has to be the right fight for him. Otherwise, I don't think you'll see him in the ring again. And you know, he's so happy. Do you know what I mean? He's walking around. He's got another kid on the way. He's got a lovely house. He's got loads of money in the bank. He's been involved in some wonderful nights, some wonderful fights. He's just happy. And
he obviously, well, I say upset Martin Murray, but Martin Murray he sort of made some comments, and Martin Murray then sort of responded on Twitter and said, "Look, I'd smash you" and things like that. But realistically, is that a fight that?
No, I mean, everybody calls Carl Froch out because he's the money in the division, isn't he? There's no, other than Chavez, who arguably doesn't even bring as much money to the table as Froch, he's the money in the division. So Martin is coming off a loss to Golovkin, which is definitely not a disgrace. But you know, I think Carl, like I said, there's probably 2 or 3 people Carl would even consider fighting at this stage, and Martin's not one of them. Martin's in a great position now. You know, he really did well against Golovkin, got a lot of credit. Every time he's been at world level and lost, he's been well in the fight, and I think he won the Martinez fight, in my opinion. So, you know, he'll come again. I don't know whether that'll be at middle or super middle, but he's a quality fighter, and but it definitely won't be Carl Froch for Martin Murray.
Well, I'll keep asking this question just finally. Every time there's any been negotiations regarding Quigg Frampton has developed since the last time I spoke to you, Edward?
We're talking. It's about as positive I can give you. You might see some movement next week.
Interesting.
But we've got to make plans. So,
yeah.
You know, if it's not, it'll be June or July for Quigg. Maybe with a crawler double against Abril. I don't know. But we got to get moving. One way, if it's either going to happen or it's not, but it needs next couple of weeks. It's got to get made if it's going to happen. Listen, it might happen in September, October. You know.
Little suggestion for you for that man over there, Anthony Joshua. After the Kevin Johnson fight, just make the Dylan White fight.
I like the fight. It's definitely
make that fight.
Definitely on the agenda.
Good.
I love that fight. You know, I think the build-up will be fun.
Similar sort of level of fights they've had.
Yeah, it's a good fight, and. You know, Dylan White's on the agenda, and David Price is on the agenda. Tyson Fury's on the agenda. All of the domestic guys, and that's. I think after Johnson, he's ready to be firmly let off the leash.
I look forward to it. All right, Eddie Hearn, thank you very much for talking to Eiffel TV. Enjoy your trip back to Essex.
It's a long way.
I'm going to be lording it up in Newcastle in the hotel room on you.
Look forward to it.
Thank you very much.